no,
well,
naked baby pictures.
backing up to the baby pictures and at the Granby Ranch. We lived in a hired man's house. Judy's not happy about something. Yeah, that was early spring. The snow was all gone, so dandelions were out. Probably May. That's at Grand Lake.
Oh, I bet that water's freezing cold.
Yeah, there's still snow on the mountain. That might have been Shadow Mountain Lake. We lived right at the edge of the water, and we could see these boaters go by. That's the ranch at Granby, and the old barns, and some of the calves. There was a real gentle bull. I think that bull is one they sold to South America. It's a pretty good bull. Some big rich guy down there in Venezuela bought him. We built that gate for Jim and Jude when they were, before they could walk. They like to go around and around on that gate.
Are those our car seats that
Yeah,
went in the car?
That's your car seats, yeah. That was the most modern car seat they had then. After we left there, my dad hired another hired man. They built an addition onto this house and made it a little bit bigger. He had 3 kids. That was a very cold house. They had to keep the heater going all the time. I think this is Steamboat. Yeah, that's Steamboat right across the river from. No, this is Winter Park. There's that big pipeline comes down there off the hill. The city of Denver gets their water through those pipes that come from the high country. Then it goes through a big 6-mile tunnel through the mountain. Goes on down to Denver.
How much did a lift ticket cost?
Actually, there was some lady that worked up there that was a friend of my folks. She worked in the ticket office, and she'd give us free tickets. Some days when I didn't have a lot of work to do in the afternoons, there's only about 14 miles up there from the ranch. We'd drive up there and ski for the afternoon. I think Grandma Morris must have been babysitting the kids, but
There's Jim.
I don't know if that's Grandma Morris's kitchen or which house that was.
I think that was Grandma's kitchen in the farmhouse.
In our house?
No, in
Or-
the Grandma's farmhouse.
Oh, in the old farmhouse. Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, you kids used to get in those doors, I remember. Play hide and go seek. I think that's the old farmhouse. There's a hired man's house in the background. A sled. We put a box on that sled, I think, when your kids were little, smaller, so you wouldn't fall out. We had an old 52 Ford there. You could see it in the background.
Is that the kitchen sink?
I believe it is.
I think so, in Grandma's farmhouse.
In Grandma Leah's farmhouse.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. This is a Yampa when I was teaching school in 1962, 3, 4. I took pictures for the coach. And those Yampa kids loved to play football, but they were so far away from other towns their size, they had to drive a long ways to find a team to play against them. Sometimes we drive 70 or 80 miles to go to another town to have a football game. There's the old Marguerite and Evelyn's house. There's a high school gymnasium at Yampa. And let's see. Marguerite and Evelyn, or Marguerite and Carl's house was right at the edge of the football field. You know, the coach wanted me to take pictures so he could use them for training films, but I can see that they weren't very good pictures. They probably didn't do him a lot of good. see, now more football. Yeah, the coach had a little boy. Coach's name was Robotham, and he had a little boy, I think his name was Bobby, that was the same age as Jimmy and Jude. And he used to come over and play with Jim and Jude all the time.
Oh, excuse me.
What house did we live in at this point in Yampa? Was it by the grocery store?
We probably were in the last house we lived in, which is a nicer house. The Montgomery house was a pretty nice house, had a hardwood floor. The first house we lived in was it was okay, nice and warm, but we only paid $38 a month rent for it. Of course, my salary was $4,600 a year, so we couldn't pay. Of course, in Yampa, there weren't that many houses that were for rent. I think Montgomery was $60 a month, and that was about the highest priced house in town. I'm sure there's a lot of football there for not no better than the pictures are. Let's see, now where are we? I guess that's just the audience. That everybody's dressed up in coats. It was probably September or October. Everybody's wearing warm coats. Although Yampa was a lot warmer than Granby was. Steamboat in Yampa didn't get near as cold as Granby and Kremling. That mountain in the background is where Marguerite and Evelyn, there's Marguerite and Carl's house. Or no, wait a minute. I'm wrong. That mountain in the background is where Marguerite and Carl Nelson lived for many years. Well, when Aunt Louise bought a ranch up there, and they lived up there for many years up on top of that mountain. Had some milk cows. They sold cream, and she'd bring the cream in with her horse and put it on the train. That Larry Walden? Might have been Jim and Jude's cousin Larry, I'm not sure, but I think it was. My daughter's, or my sister's older boy. No. Oh, these are some students in school showing off their, I had to teach science, and that's their solar systems. That's what it is. Yeah. They made solar systems out of styrofoam balls. And in Yampa, I had to teach ninth grade science, as well as chemistry and physics. Well, I got along with the ninth grade science real good, but I really had to study in the chemistry and physics to keep ahead of those high school kids. But they were a wonderful bunch of people there. They were very easy to get along with, and hardly ever a discipline problem.
How big was the whole high school in student population?
Oh, in Yampa, about 60 or 70 kids in a total high school. I had at least half of them in my classes at different times. In the welding classes, I had about 20 kids, 20 boys, I think. Yeah, that was a real good school. I really enjoyed Yampa. But they consolidated with bigger schools, which was good and bad. To make the schools bigger and better, why they had to consolidate with other neighboring towns, and so they closed down that school at Yampa. They moved the kids on down to the neighboring town at Oak Creek. Yeah, we had a lot of this in our movies. The sky, or maybe it'd get loose in the car or something. That gate was at the old ranch house at Granby, in front of the front door.
I think that was Lori and Larry Walden.
Probably was.
I think that's Jim in the red hat.
At least he's not pointing at you.
Who has the gun?
I don't know, probably a Grand Lake, but that water's so cold, 11 months out of the year you couldn't get in there.
Larry Walden.
That's
and
Larry
Lori.
Walden, yeah. That looks like Lori.
Yeah, it's Jim and Judy and Larry and Lori, the cousins playing together.
Moving the old hay slide. Clifford Mason probably on the tractor, driving the Ford tractor, pulling a big hay rake.
Now, is this right off of Highway 40?
Yeah, that was right on off of Highway 40. Yeah, that's Clifford taking Jim for a ride. Or I guess that's Jim. Might be Judy. That's a big mountain in the background that had they had an Indian battle up on top of there one time. Called it the Fort Hill, and you could see where the Indians would make kind of a rock fort up there. The Arapaho and the it's the Arapaho and the Utes got in a big battle. The Utes were kind of from western Colorado, and the Arapaho from down around Denver. So we brought the hay in from the field into the slide. I had a double stroller there for a while, I guess. Yeah. We had to drive that thing backwards in order to turn with a big load. But and that's a big slide that they'd push these big loads up with that pusher, and over the top it would go. Pretty soon you'd have a haystack. We only had about 30 haystacks down on this ranch, but on the upper ranch, with the night ranch, we had 60 stacks up there. When we had both ranches, we put up about 90 of those stacks a year. That fed the cows through the winter, and about 5 months of deep snow. Well, here's Jim and his snowplow. You know who that is with you, Jim?
Might have been Ham Howard.
Maybe it was.
Might have been Ham Howard, yeah.
Different smell.
Smelt different up on the Cowlitz, I guess. Or
There's John.
one of the old janitors from school showed us where to go. It wasn't really good dipping that day, but we get a few. We didn't eat a lot of those. We'd smoke a few of them and fry a few, but they weren't very good eating. They're pretty good smoked. That must have been Ham Howard, wasn't it, Jim?
Well, it might have been. I haven't seen it. That's not Ham there.
Yeah, we got quite a few fish. I think that old janitor's name was Hoke Hansen. Covered bridge on I think that was on the way to the beach between Portland and Newport. Not sure.
There's Jim and Jude,
Jude,
John.
there's John. There they are.
This is at Depot Bay.
Yeah.
Spouting horns.
The first time we took John to the beach, we said something about watch out for those sneaker waves or something like that. Boy, when he heard us say that, he just ran away from the beach as hard as he could go. Thought we were going to get caught by them sneakers. School party at one of the, I think that was at Lawrence School. Probably grade 6.
In the late 1960s?
I've been in the 70s probably. I think I had a couple little bottom-miller kids in that class. I know that kid. They had that paint company. A friend of Dorothy's was his mother. Yeah. Oh boy, I can't remember their name now. I think we had a thing called South America Day or something. They're dressed up. This is a rope tow, probably Mount Hood, our government camp. Pretty sure that's government camp.
Yeah, there's that rope tow on the left.
Is that that's Jude and I together, I think.
Going up on the T-bar.
I don't know whose was, looks like Jim maybe. I can't remember who's with him. There's Jude. That was in our yard at Dollar's Corner. Is that you on the motorcycle, Jim?
I think so. I'm trying to,
I don't know if that's me or not.
I think that's you, yeah, skis.
The whole neighborhood always knew which house to come to.
And Jude was pretty aggressive with those snowballs. I think that was her throwing snowballs. Which bike was that, Jim? Can you recognize the bike?
I think that was that Honda 100.
100?
100, yeah.
That was one of your first bikes, wasn't it?
That was yours. The 100 was yours.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was. Oh boy, they're serious now.
That's John with the long-tailed hat on.
Oh,
He was the wild snowball thrower.
I got it. Poor. Yeah, we didn't know much about taking pictures.
That was John and Scrappy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All dressed up.
What did you? How did him?
Mike and Lisa still have that kitchen table.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh. Would you make him kind of a coat, John, or?
Yeah, I think it was one of my t-shirts.
Oh, a t-shirt. Oh yeah. Yeah, that old table, still there, I guess. Hmm. Mike put a new floor on top of that old tile floor. Is that Mom glued to the television, or
I think that's me.
me? Oh, you,
I think
Jim?
it's Jim watching TV.
Oh. Grandma Morris with us on a trip somewhere on a ferry, I guess.
San Juan Islands. There's Leah Morris and Ardith Morris. I think this is the year we took Grandma to Victoria.
Probably was. Yeah, we took her to Victoria once, maybe twice.
There's John. And Judy. This looks like
John.
and John again. And John again.
That Jim? Might have been. Dorothy's old Volkswagen Bug.
Yep. And Grandma Rogers was on the left. Aunt Phyllis,
Oh, yeah.
and there's John,
John on his 70.
and Kevin Kniss.
Kevin brought a bike from California, I think. Yeah. That
And
must
Mike
be
Kniss.
Mike was riding behind Kevin, I guess.
I used to steal that shirt out of your closet, John.
Probably still have it.
Oh, well, I'll come raid your closet.
That must have been Michael on John's old 70.
Yep, there's Scrappy the dog. We just saw the old shop that now is Mike's office.
Grandma
Great.
Morris.
Flora Rogers,
Artie.
and John,
Jim.
Jim. Looks like the Rose Parade in Portland.
Oh, yeah. You played in the band in that, didn't you, Jim?
Yeah, I think Judy and I both did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we both marched in it.
Yeah, I guess you did. Battleground.
Gary Schaefer in the front.
Yeah, I saw that. Gary Schaefer, front and center, marching. I played clarinet, and Jim, what did you march with? The Barry sax?
Back to the wheels again.
John says this is the Stewart boys. John Stewart.
Stewart boys from across the street?
From across the street. John Morris and John Stewart used to climb trees across the street. Set them to swaying.
Yeah, their mother about had a heart attack when she found out what they were doing. They'd climb way up on the top of the tree and then kind of grab the end of the limbs and slide down and come down pretty fast. Getting the drift boat ready to go to the river. Well, didn't we put that boat in? Oh, is that John? Is that little bitty pram that I?
That little pram, yeah, that we built.
A little tiny pram. Had a battery motor in it?
I guess, I don't remember. You had a little outboard on it for a while, wasn't it? I remember that. Larry went out there by himself. Didn't know which way to go. Guess must have been down like ferry or.
Oh, the swimming pool at Beller's Corner. And there's the shop that now is Mike's office.
Yeah, I can't recognize a lot of those trees. It looks so different.
Must be harvest days. Oh, this must be the high school band. I think Jim and I were in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Jim playing the big saxophone.
Are you sure I'm playing it?
That tall one, Jim?
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was. That's when the main grocery store was down where the Value Village is now.
Uncle Ron and Aunt Dorothy and
Oh,
Angela
there's
and Gordy.
Gordy and Angela. Well, there's a hill climb at Woodland. Did you ever try to climb that, Jim?
No, not at Woodland. Teddy Weber climbed that.
Teddy Weber was there, yeah. Not many guys could get up there. I think John could
Right
have.
there on the left, in the red.
Oh, yeah.
Red hat.
He might make it. Yeah, I believe he's going to make it. Not quite. I think John could have got up that hill on the. Oh, you had a 500 at one time, didn't you, John? Yeah. I know you could have rode up there on that bike.
Might be Randy. Yeah, but it is Randy.
Randy Weber.
Yeah, he was in there.
I think that's him right there. Blue.
Oh, was that him? Yeah.
The blue helmet.
He was a pretty good little rider.
Jim and Judy. Maybe we're talking twin talk. We had our own language, you know.
I can't recognize that house right now, but that must have been in, let's see. That was probably the old telephone building house, first house we lived in Yampa, I think. Yeah, that was on the main street of Yampa, but across the street from the drugstore.
Jim decided to take me shopping one day. We went across the street.
Yeah, you ran off from home. We didn't know where you were. Went clear across the street to the drugstore. There weren't that many cars in Yampa to run over anybody, but
Now watch it, brother. The face.
get
Coming
him.
back for more.
Go get him, dude. Oh, I remember Jim climbing them old springs. He'd climb up and down, up and down. You remember that, Jim?
Well, I don't know if
Well, you were just barely. You were just barely walking not too long before that. And that was on the back side of that old telephone building. And you never did fall off there.
Could he make it back down?
Oh, yeah. We had an old wooden kitchen stove there, burned wood and coal, and heated the water with a cook stove. Had a water heater in the cook stove. When Mom would do the laundry, why she'd have to have a big fire going. That was an old ratty shop building next door to it. That's downtown Yampa. Nice. Is that Jerry Thomas?
Yeah, it looks like Jerry Thomas.
And Joanne Terranella, I think, who were friends of Jerry's. Yeah, we built a little fence around the backyard so you kids couldn't run off anymore.